What is up, guys? Rick Kakis here, and today we have a lot to talk about, and that's because Destiny 2 has just released on the PC, and as a result, the game was data mined. Now what this means is that the PC players can go into the original files of Destiny 2, pick apart thousands of audio, pictures, and other files of the like, and extrapolate a ton of information from that, including information on things to come. And that's exactly what we're talking about in this video. There has been some huge information data mined from the PC release about things to come, including potential new planets, new subclasses, and more. So let's get started. Now, some of the first things that stood out was entirely new locations that seemed to be mentioned. There were voice lines about entirely new worlds that could be coming to Destiny 2 in a future expansion. The first one is Ganymede, and according to Wikipedia, Ganymede is the largest and most massive moon of Jupiter and in the entire solar system. The 9th largest object in the solar system period, it is the largest without a substantial atmosphere. So it is an actual place, and there is Destiny 2 audio files talking about it. So this is potentially somewhere we could go in the future. Now, the other location that was mentioned is a little bit trickier to understand because it's not an actual place like Ganymede is just a moon. It's called the Myriad. And that isn't obviously a moon or a planet or anything within our solar system. It could be some strange location. It could be a moon that's called the Myriad. But the interesting thing about the Myriad is that it was actually discovered before. Way back when, a Reddit user actually made a post mentioning this location. Their friend had the Russian version of Destiny 2, and they actually acquired a ghost that said, detects resources on Myriad located in 30 meters from the player. Now later on, this was actually corrected in-game so that the same ghost then said Ness, or Nessus essentially. Now you can see these Russian words actually do change. The location changes on the same ghost. So that is very interesting. That we have this accidental mention of the location Myriad, and now we have audio files backing that up. Now, moving on from there, there's a ton of mentions in the audio files about returning Destiny 1 worlds. For example, Venus is mentioned, Mars is mentioned, the Dreadnought is mentioned. We're going to get way more into the Dreadnought in just a sec. Old Russia is mentioned, Phobos is mentioned, and Phobos actually does have some audio files that somewhat seem like it will be a patrol area. Phobos, if you can remember, is one of the moons of Mars that you had to go to originally in the campaign for the Taken King. Like, you first went to Phobos, that's where the Cabal were being attacked by the Taken. And so potentially that is returning. Well, more than returning, if in Destiny 2 it's actually a patrol mode, that would be much more of a substantial space on that one location. But then Mercury is also mentioned, but of course we know that Mercury is, via leaked files, supposed to be a patrol mode in the upcoming expansion, The Curse of Osiris, slotted to release December 2017. So that's all really interesting. I would love to see all of those planets make a return. If at the end of Destiny 2, you have a sprawling destinations map where you can go to Earth and several places on Earth, including Old Russia, and then the European Dead Zone, and then you could go to Mars, Mercury, Phobos, Ganymede, all of these different places, I would be thrilled. The more places you can go, the more unique locations, the more vendors that have exclusive weapons to those locations, I'm going to be a happy camper if all of this happens. But I said we would talk more about the Dreadnought, and here it is. We actually have some of the examples of the Dreadnought files in the Destiny 2 data mine. So here we go. And again, these are all audio files actually inside the Destiny 2 game files right now. So first one, quote, "When the next Dreadnought arrives, I would prefer to find it in an empty system." Quote, "Caution is your ally on the Dreadnought. Do not become lost in its depth." Quote, I am surprised, Guardian. Most who brave the Dreadnought come back changed. Quote, the Dreadnought did not extinguish your light. Quote, surviving the Dreadnought is a victory earned. Another one, back to Oryx's floating tomb then. So there you go, back to Oryx's floating tomb then. Perfectly set up for one of the lines your ghost says as you're heading back to the Dreadnought in Destiny 2. Another one, the war cult would pay you handsomely to plunder the Dreadnought. Quote, we've defeated Oryx, but the Dreadnought still lives. Do your part to fight it. Quote, the Dreadnought remains operational and must be contained. Quote, I can't imagine the horror you've seen on the Dreadnought. And lastly, quote, you and your ghost are brave for boarding that ship. So pretty clear lines referring to actually the Dreadnought by name, referring to going back to the Dreadnought in the past tense, like not saying Oryx is still there or something weird like that. He's clearly dead. The Dreadnought is still operational, though it still poses a threat. That is very interesting. And also what's very interesting is the line, when the next Dreadnought arrives, I would prefer to find it in an empty system. Now, what is this next Dreadnought? Well, we actually saw the next Dreadnought in the cutscene at the very end of Destiny 2, where we saw what was referred to as Seviathan. And I hope I'm getting that right, but that is Oryx's sister that is out looking for the light, looking for the traveler, and then is alerted to its presence and is kind of coming for us. We have a lot of hints to her presence even in Destiny 2 right now. A lot of the taken bosses are like Seviathan's Chosen and stuff like that. So she's clearly going to have a presence. And if another massive ship comes to the solar system, another Dreadnought, this line would make perfect sense. Now, I should mention that there is a possibility that this is just deleted or removed voice lines from the original Destiny that somehow ended up in the Destiny 2 files. Unlikely, but possible. So that's quite a lot to take in. Now, I'm sure some people are going to be thrilled with the return of their favorite Destiny 1 locations, and other people are going to want new things. Remember, we did get those mentions of those 2 entirely new locations first, and then we have returning locations. But also remember, returning locations isn't necessarily returning locations. Venus is a whole planet. It's a pretty big place, and we don't have to go anywhere where we were in Destiny 1 and still be able to return to Venus. The same is for Mars, and the same even is for Earth. So even though we're technically returning to Mars, there is a whole bunch of locations on Mars that we didn't necessarily explore, and so that is potentially exciting. The Dreadnought, however, is incredibly interesting. It's a place that we were throughout most of it in Destiny 1, but it is something that, as we've went over, extensive audio files seem to prove that we are going back to it, and it makes sense story-wise with Oryx's sister coming back. Perhaps finding a weapon or something to fight her on the Dreadnought would be something that the Guardians are interested in. So that is just very, very kind of unexpected that we are going back to that place. Now, in what capacity is the real question? Do we go back to the Dreadnought for a simple mission, or do we go back as a new patrol mode? That is really what we have to wait and see. Now, something else that I want to mention is that there is an audio file hinting at a 4th elemental subclass. It is an Ikora line where she says, quote, what if there was a 4th energy? Void, solar arc, and what? I sometimes tire of all these 3s. Now here's the thing. Ikora has actually been saying that line since the launch of Destiny 2. I wanted to mention it because there's going to be a lot of hype around it as a newly discovered thing from people who haven't been hanging around Ikora, but she has actually just been saying that in-game. It's going to be really interesting whether or not Bungie is going to go through with that. And it seems like to give Ikora a line like that, they've got to be at least toying with the idea of a 4th elemental subclass. I know all of you guys watching would be thrilled if a 4th elemental subclass like a darkness subclass was added. It's going to be interesting if any more audio files or elements of Destiny 2 that are data mined come out to support this idea of a 4th subclass. And In every single update we get from this point forward, new files are going to be added to Destiny 2 and data mine. So we're going to have pretty up-to-date information about what's going to come within Destiny 2. In any event, guys, that is it for the video. I hope you enjoyed and found this interesting. Now, if you did, please remember to help me out by simply rating and especially sharing this video. If you guys want to see more Destiny 2 content similar to this, don't be afraid to slap that subscribe button. And if you guys want to get in touch with me and keep up to date with the latest channel activity, the best way is to follow me on Twitter at RickCacus. That's linked in the description down below, as is my Twitch channel, which you can also follow. Again, I hope you enjoyed the video, and as always, have a good day.